Ladies and gentlemen, today we're talking about a very important topic, and that's a topic of weed whacking. Go to Manscaped, get 20% off plus uh, free shipping with the code FAB. And usually, when we talk about plucking those nose hairs and doing trimming around the ears and whatnot, most of us are used to doing that with weapons such as this. While effective, they can be cumbersome. They can prove to be cumbersome. And everyone's personal favorite is also this beauty, something like this. Whilst very effective, it's also hard because sometimes you don't have the right extension cords and whatnot. So Manscaped has given us this, the Weed Whacker. The Weed Whacker is skin safe. It has a replaceable head. It has high performance motor, so premium 9,000 RPM motor powers. This is something that you would have probably seen in a World War II aeroplane prior to this. And unlike the hedge trimmer, it's cordless and rechargeable, so you can use it anywhere and you can take it with you. And it's really, really a pretty amazing product. It has a smart design. It's intelligently contoured design for you to be able to grip it easily, and it's not going to slip out of your hand, which is an amazing segue to the next part of it, which is that fact that it's waterproof, so you can use it in the shower and whatnot. So this is a pretty amazing piece of machinery here for all of us that need it. And everyone needs it because you don't want to be that person. You don't want to be the person that has the nose hairs and the ear hairs sticking out. My dad used to take me to a barber in Liverpool, and ironically, this barber, it was an older guy, had the worst hairs coming out of his ears and the worst hairs coming out of his nose. And always, as a little kid, I used to always watch that. So I never wanted that myself. So please, Manscaped, get 20% off plus free shipping with the code FAB. Thank you, people. Hello, guys. How are you today? Welcome. Let me know if my sound is a little bit off. I just want to know. Yeah, man, I just heard that now. Actually, just saw it when you guys mentioned it about Hamzat's retirement. Who knows as well? Like, let's see what happens in a couple of years. He's still a young guy. And we'll see what that means for him. You know, like maybe he does recover, maybe gets a full recovery. Still a young guy, still had extremely marketable guy. Obviously, unbelievable athlete, unbelievable talent. It makes me sad. Excuse me, guys. Yeah, it makes me sad, but I do think he's young, and I think that there's still plenty of time for him. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know that that's necessarily going to be forever. These things have a way of, you heal, you get better. He's still such a young guy. He's obviously a genetic outlier. So let's see what happens in the next couple of years. I don't really know enough about his situation per se to give an educated guess, but I would say to you that, yeah, like I said, let's see what happens in the next couple of years. Well, let's talk about this UFC 259. Let's talk about the three. Let's kind of stick to the three main title fights, just because we can't be here for 6 hours. And we'll start talking about one of those right now. I'd just like to say hello to everyone that's here. Thank you so much for your support, guys. If you're new to the channel, please like, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you get the notifications. We will obviously be doing a fight companion for this one, so I'm very, very pumped for it. I'm actually looking forward to the Peter Yan fight versus Aljamain Sterling probably the most. That's one of the fights that I've been hanging for a while, and so yeah, I'm pretty excited. Let's see what. Yeah, I wanted to see the Hamzat Edwards fight too. Thank you very much, Randy, for your support. All right, well, guys, let's talk about that Israel fight. Let's talk about the Israel versus Yan fight. Who do you guys think will win it, and why? And how do you think it's going to happen? So Jack the Ripper says he's got Izzy, Yan, and Nunes winning. What do I think? And Ocean Orange says, what's stopping Yan for just attempting a takedown every round and having an easy win? That's a fair question, but first of all, Israel's not very easy to take down to begin with. The thing that Israel has is, and this is what a lot of people lack in MMA, he is very, very well trained footwork. His footwork is very, very good for boxing, for kickboxing, and obviously for fighting. So when he's never off balance. He's always in the right stance and in the right position. He's very, very good at framing. He's very long, so it's not that easy to just come into his range. You can't just grab him and shoot a takedown and whatnot if his footwork is in the right place and you're always wary of eating a knee or eating a right hand as you're coming in. He does a very, very fantastic job of being able to frame and pivot. When he frames and pivots, he steps outside laterally to you and throws that right hand. He does that very, very well. Or he's able to lean back and you come into his space. And when he comes back forward with the right hand, you're caught in that mid ground. He's very, very good at that. So I think that will be quite a difficult thing for him to do. Having said that, I think that Jan's an awkward guy with an awkward kind of timing, and I think he'd be even harder once you're in there to work out. I think he's one of those guys that throws things a little bit awkwardly and harder than you expect it to be. What do I think? I think Israel probably will be a little bit too quick, a little bit too slick for Jan. I think Peter Jan will probably be a little bit too slick for Aljamain. Although that fight I see it as a bit more of a toss-up. Peter Jan's probably my favorite fighter at the moment, to be honest. And I do think Nunes will unfortunately beat Megan Anderson. Yeah, I think it is closer though than people would first think with Peter Yan and Aljamain. I don't think that that Aljamain is necessarily gets the credit he deserves from a lot of people. I think that the pressure over the 5 rounds of Peter Yan's classic boxing style, and I believe he's a master of sport in boxing, which means he was a medalist in the domestic circuit in Russia, which is no joke. And he's had heaps and heaps of boxing fights. I think that starts, you start to fall off that and being able to keep up with him. You saw that in the Aldo fight. Julian says, Izzy, because he's speed and creating openings to attack and evade on the feet. I tend to think so, Julian. I think Israel he's very fast in a small circle. So he's able to pivot and turn and find angles very, very well. And I do think that he's pretty much seen everything you're going to throw at him stand-up wise. So I think that's where it may be a little bit difficult. And Jan isn't like a wrestler. He's got good jiu-jitsu. He's got some takedowns there, of course. I'm not saying he can't take him down, and I'm not saying that Jan can't beat Israel. I wouldn't be surprised if he did. But I think that this is going to, for the most part, is going to be a stand-up fight. And I do think that Jan is going to try and pressure Israel up against the fence, wear him out as much as he can. That's what he's going to try and do. But it's very hard to do that to someone with the footwork and the length that Israel has. Henry says, I think Izzy probably picks him apart, but Jan always has that one-punch power. Jan closes the distance, often throwing bombs. The way he moves in through, though, plays into Israel's game. Very risky for Jan. Yeah, you can't just wade in throwing bombs against Israel. You can't. And I think that Jan is actually more methodical than people give him credit for. So I don't think Jan's going to wade in throwing bombs. I do think he's going to kind of let Israel come to him a little bit and kind of meet him in the middle. And wherever he gets an opportunity, he's going to go for the takedown. He's going to grind him up against the fence and he's going to make him work. But like I said, Israel's very good at doing that. He's got very good framing. He's got very good leverage. One of the things that's going to be interesting is where Israel's going to lose is the height and reach advantage that he always enjoys. He may have, it's not a question of whether he does have a little bit more reach or not than Jan. It's more the fact that he doesn't have that height and reach advantage that he would have over middleweights in the same way. And you saw that when Rockhold fought Jan as well. Rockhold didn't have the same height, reach, length advantage that he enjoyed against other middleweights. Having said that, I know that Rockhold stand-up isn't as good as Israel's. Um, okay, what's it say here? I just want to make sure that I get to everyone. Can Jan versus Izzy fight be the same as boring as Izzy versus Romero? I suppose it's a subjective thing. I didn't find the Romero and Israel fight boring, because I know that either one of those guys can turn the fight within 1 second. So when I'm watching it understanding that, like, this is a chess match that's occurring and there's angles that are being played, and at any stage one of these guys could turn the other guy's lights off. Um, I Could it be that type of fight? Yeah, I think that Jan wants it to be methodical. Jan wants it to be a grinding, methodical fight, where he's able to use his size, his strength, his awkwardness, and his power against Israel. So I don't think he's going to be wading in, rushing in. It's not his style to blitz and come in. That's not his thing. Jack the Ripper says Jan hits hard and he's a good fighter, but Izzy will be a bit too much technically. I think Israel's definitely got the technical advantage on the feet. I I think Jan himself is, like I said, he's very tactical though. He's not as technical as Israel, but he's very tactical. And so there's things that he does really, really well, and he really makes people work for it. Timothy says, is anyone here going to bet on Megan this weekend? She's plus 850. Man, plus 850 is a lot. Like, Amanda Nunes has had some stoppage losses in the past. She's looked unbeatable at the moment, but I don't bet. But all I'm saying is, I think Megan has more than a puncher's chance on the feet. Having said that, though, Nunes hits so hard and is so good technically on the feet, and the grappling level is, I believe, at least up until the last couple of fights that I've seen of Megan's, is quite a bit different. I think Amanda Nunes is very, very good grappling as well. So I don't know with that one. I don't know. I don't think it's a plus 850 necessarily per se, because Megan's stand up is quite legit. And Amanda has been stopped by strikes before. Having said that, I know that's a long time ago in the career, et cetera, but I'm also saying that Megan has some very good stand up. Ben, I think Jan is just a slower version of Paulo. Jan will be stronger in the clinch if he can close a distance without getting touched up. Man, I don't see Jan and Paulo as similar type of fighters. I don't. I see Paulo as, with all respect to him, I see him as extremely one-dimensional. I see Paulo Costa as a guy that walks you down and throws heavy power shots. And if he can, and so far he's been able to more or less do that to everyone, other than Israel. I think if he fights Rob, he's going to find it very difficult to be able to do that with Rob. I think he doesn't have a plan B to go to, and I think Jan can fight on a lot of different levels in a lot of different phases. If things don't work out one way for Jan, Jan can go to second phase or third phase, and that's what makes a champion. And he's got different gears even with his stand up. He's very methodical. He can go forward. He can come back. He can be patient. He'll cut a nice angle. He's got different sorts of combinations and punches. Whereas C Paulo as more of a straight down the middle, throws power shots. Takes, he'll take your best shot to give his best shot. And I don't think Jan's like that. Will he be stronger in the clinch? I think the clinch is also an area where Israel will be very, very good in as well. Like, it's not just about being strong. It's not just brute strength. I think the clinch is a space where Israel is very comfortable in. Very, very comfortable. And he's got a very good build for that as well, Israel. So I don't know. And I think if Jan can get him down and get on top, Jan can start to wear him out. But Israel's no slouch on the ground. He's a very, very athletic, very strong guy. So I don't think that'll be a problem for him. Dorian Dark says Sterling lost only 3 times, 2 split decisions, and 1 lucky Moraes KO. Yeah, I don't call KOs lucky. Generally, man, like, he meant to knock him out. You know what I mean? Like, he wasn't like he was on his way to the shops and he hit him. Yeah, Aljamain Sterling is a fantastic fighter. I don't, he was Division 3 All-American wrestler, and he could have quite easily been a Division 1 wrestler. The problem was his grades, not his wrestling ability to get to wrestle at that level. And then when you watch his actual jiu-jitsu as well, he's a legitimate black belt, and he competes in high-level grappling competitions. So, his ability to find the back, get to the back, execute from the back, and his chokes from the front headlock positions, that are things that have been honed for years and years in wrestling, and then subsequently in jiu-jitsu, are very, very, very good. I don't think he's an easy match for anyone. And I do think that there's a lot of things he can do with Peter Yan to make things difficult for Peter. Fab, what do I make of Izzy's breast in the Costa fight? I don't know, man. I don't know. Gyno is very rare for it to be on only one side. It's generally going to be on both. So I don't know enough about what happened or what it is. But like I said, Gyno itself is usually going to be on both sides. That's generally what it is. Hey there, coach. Weird catching you on a weekday. Thank you, Joseph. How are you? Ben at Timothy, bro. Okay, cool. Jack the Ripper. Could Izzy make Yan freeze a bit with feints, footwork, and speed? And it's not as if you can shoot a sloppy double and take Israel down. He's a good grappler. Thank you, Jack. That's more or less what he's going to try and do, I believe. The question is, what's going to happen in that interaction in the fight? Because Yan is no slouch himself. Yan strikes me as a type of guy that if you hit him, I don't know if anyone's sparred with these guys, those types of guys that wherever you hit the guy, like you'll clash a shin, you'll clash knees. He's just like an awkward guy. And with that awkwardness comes an awkward timing. Can he land some shots on Israel early on with that awkwardness, with that awkward timing, and that power to start to make Israel start to eat on his feints? I don't know. But I do think that in a 25-minute fight, it's going to be hard for someone to come in that's not explosive, that's not able to move in and out with a high vocabulary of strikes and movement. It's going to be really hard for Israel not to work that puzzle out. Gigi says, Fab, I have a very important uni essay due tomorrow, 1 p.m. that I'm only starting now. Can I see the rock salt lamp's full glory for luck? There you go, sir. There you go. Godspeed. I hope you do that essay, man. Having said that, it's my first day of uni today, straight after this podcast. I start my postgrad today. Hey, Fab, looking good as usual from Martovi. Thank you so much, sir. Ben, I think it's worth 10 or 20 bucks. Yeah, look, honestly, I would bet. I don't bet, but Megan Anderson at plus 850, that's a lot. Any thoughts on Izzy having Gyno? Do you think he's on performance-enhancing drugs? Like I said first, I wouldn't accuse anyone of being on performance-enhancing drugs. Like I wouldn't do that. Having said that, there's guys that I know are on performance-enhancing drugs and I still don't drop their names. I don't think Israel necessarily is. I have nothing to think why he would be. Like I said, Gyno is usually going to be in that way. He's usually going to be on both nipples. But I don't know. Coach, which is bigger, Jan's chances of winning or your water bottle? I think Jan's got more chance of winning. Do you know that John Jones wants Jan to knock out Israel? No, yeah, maybe. I don't know. I want to see if Jan can pressure early and disrupts Israel's early phase. Can he make it dirty? That's what he's going to try and do. I do believe that's what he's going to try and do. But Israel's been in, he's had 100 fights, man. He's fought in the stand-up department some of the best guys. At a 185 division, he's fought the best guys on the planet. Simon Marcus, Alex Pereira, oh my God, I forgot the other guy's name. But a whole bunch of guys, man, that now the guys are going to bother me because I can't remember the guy's name. But yeah, he's fought so many guys. It's going to be hard for you to show him things that he hasn't seen. Not like that. They both counterpunch well, but I favor Izzy. I can't see it going past 2 rounds, as I think someone will get tagged. Super interesting matchup from Michael Caine. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know how this fight's going to go. I really don't know how it will go. Because the question's going to be, I think, in Jan's timing. Can Israel work out Jan's timing and power early on? And if he can't, is Jan going to be able to start taking advantage of that by maybe landing some big shots, getting the takedown, and causing some havoc for Israel? I don't think Israel is impervious to being knocked out, and I definitely don't think that Jan can't do it. I think that Jan is absolutely capable of doing it, but if I had to pick someone, I'd pick Israel. How would Izzy and Glover be? See, Izzy and Glover would be a little bit more interesting, in my opinion, because Glover has very, very good jiu-jitsu. He won the Abu Dhabi trials in 2009 or something like that. I was in Brazil. I saw it live. But the one thing about Glover is he can actually wrestle. He can really wrestle. And he hits a snatch single so well. And he goes box, 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 snatch single. And then when he gets on top, he's very heavy on top. And he's very, very good at passing that guard and going for the submissions. Primarily guillotines and head arm choke. Very heavy on top. Very heavy. And when he gets to half guard, he starts to create a lot of problems. So that would be a really interesting fight. Izzy has been knocked out clean before. I don't think Israel's been knocked out on numerous occasions. I think Alex Pereira knocked him out once. But I could be wrong. I don't think he's been knocked out on numerous occasions. Is Glover a tougher matchup for Izzy than Jan? Is Glover a tough... Nah, that's kind of insulting to Jan. Like, I'm sure you're not trying to be insulting. But no, they both present different problems. I think the difference is that Jan is going to doesn't have that wrestling and grappling pedigree that Glover has. And Glover's got nice, tidy boxing that, I think it will allow him to get inside and shoot that single thing. Having said that, I think that makes Glover a little bit more predictable as well. Not any less dangerous, but a little bit more predictable. Like, having said that, Israel's predictable in that he's not going to shoot a double leg and take Jan down necessarily. But that's what makes Israel dangerous as well. You know what he's going to do, but he's so good at doing it. And that's, I think, with Glover as well. With Jan, there's a little bit more, it's a little bit more unpredictable. You don't know if he's going to stand with Israel, if he's going to try and force a takedown. You don't know if he's going to let Israel come to him or vice versa. So that's the thing that I think makes Jan a little bit more unpredictable. GG, it isn't rare for gyno to be on one side. It's very common. That was misinformation spread by a doctor who issued a correction. Yeah, I haven't seen enough of gyno, GG, like that. But I haven't really seen it or heard of it, like, just where, I suppose, anecdotal, where it's been on one side. I haven't seen it. So I didn't say it was impossible. I just said it's rare, like, it's pretty rare from what I've seen. Coach, I know you said to keep it on the 3 title fights and you don't have to go into detail, but what fight stands out to be on the undercard? Personally, it's Cruz versus Kenny. Yeah, that's going to be a cracker fight. And I think the Islam Makhachev versus Drew Dober fight, I think that's a pretty interesting one. I think there's a lot of good fights. And that's why I didn't... Yeah, I'm absolutely pumped to see Dominic Cruz. I'll probably start the podcast early so we can watch a Dominic Cruz one and have a chat. But yeah. Bo Himmler, what's up? What's up, mate? Mason Klatt, Izzy showed an incredible ability to snipe the calf knee with kicks versus Costa. What do you think Jan will be able to do? I know checks are good, but it's not like Israel doesn't know what a check is. Like I said, I don't think Israel doesn't know what a check is. I think that Jan isn't Paulo, though. He's a very, very different kind of guy. I think that fight accentuated the fact that Israel has very, very good calf kicks. And the Yoel Romero one also accentuated his ability to switch stance and hit the legs, the thighs, with from the southpaw stance, which he did really, really well. So he's very good. He's able to switch and hit you with from all different angles. What will Jan do to stop the leg kicks? I'm not sure. I'm not sure if Jan's gonna, but it's hard if Jan pressures forward. I think that can mitigate some of that leg kick damage. And like I said, I think that Jan has an awkward kind of style, an awkward timing, and Israel has to be a little bit more careful in throwing those kicks and those punches early on until he's worked out that timing. That's one of the things that I noticed when I was watching Jan's fights. Like, I don't want to say like it's almost like because people take what I say literally, but I almost feel like he's almost losing the fight, but he's not. Like you're watching him, and the punches are kind of just missing. But then the way that people are throwing kicks and punches at him, they're not really landing flush a lot of the times. They're kind of landing on his shins and on his elbows, on his bones. He's just got a different, just a little kind of bit of a different awkward timing. That's what I noticed the most with Jan. It's a question of whether or not Israel's going to be able to jump in there and work it out. And no matter what sparring partners you get in that, it's not going to be Jan. I think Israel's got enough that he can work it out. I don't know that I want to just see how that goes because I think his timing and awkwardness makes it difficult. Coach Fab, have you ever had an athlete on the gear? What did you do about it? That I know of, to the best of my knowledge, I want to answer this truthfully. In MMA, no. But I have worked with guys quite closely that have, and that have fought in MMA and that have been on the gear. But they weren't the guys that were in my circles, so to speak. And I've worked with a lot of professional athletes in a lot of different scenarios, and I'm just trying to answer this as truthfully as possible. They wouldn't tell me that they're on gear or any performance enhancing drug. I'm not one to advocate that, and I'm pretty straightforward with that. So they never would have told me that they were on it. But there have been cases where I've worked with people and they've tested positive later. Not necessarily guys within my inner circle or guys that worked with me, but yeah, there's been a few. Yeah. What did I do about it? Like I said, like it's not that easy to just go like, oh no, he looks like he's on the gear or whatever, Because you're working with a lot of outliers as well that are super strong, super fit. I don't advocate for it. I don't want it. I don't really want it part of my circle. I don't believe in it. But any coach, and this is unless they're fucking lying or unless they're out there, has at some point come across people, whether in their gym or people they've worked with, that are on gear. That's for sure. I'm betting small yarn by submission and money line yarn big. Okay, so Jan by submission against Israel could happen. I mean, it could happen. I wouldn't bet on it, and I think that Peter Yan is a good bet. I do think that. I think that he's very, very good. Timothy, there is a doctor dude that makes YouTube videos that analyze his breast, and he thought that it wasn't gyno, but of course that is just one guy's opinion. Yeah, for the record, I'm not saying it's not gyno. I don't know. I've said that I don't know. And like I said, my experience, and this is just completely anecdotal, is I haven't seen guys in gyms or otherwise. I've worked in gyms, like different types of gyms, not just MMA gyms. I haven't really come across it where it's just on one side. Might be worse on one side than the other, but I haven't really come across that. That's me, anyways. I'm just saying that doesn't mean that it isn't. Yeah, Gigi, you've said it already, but like I know it's uneven. That's the thing, but I haven't never really seen it like where it's like where it was like with Israel, where he had like almost like a breast on one side and the other one was normal. I haven't seen it like that. I've seen him where it's a little bit more even than that. Israel's was like absolutely one chest, like one pec. So I don't know. I don't know if it was or if it wasn't. Jason Wilness from Glory. That's it. I couldn't remember his name. Yeah. Um, how good is Blachowicz wrestling? He's not like a wrestler. He can wrestle, of course. All of those guys can wrestle, but he's not like a wrestler. That's whereas Glover's got actual wrestling. Like he's more like a jiu-jitsu guy that can wrestle. You know, he hasn't got that classical wrestling. Jan Blachowicz we're talking about. Having said that, I don't think that he can't wrestle. You know, he showed some good wrestling ability against Krylov. He showed some good wrestling. He's got some good back takes, but I think that Israel's very fast. Israel's got some good Granby rolls, and he's very confident. And one of the things that happens with confidence is you're not just good at doing things, but you know when to do things, and you're confident in your ability to do it and when to do it. And Israel is very, very confident in the octagon. Um, and I think he's a little bit hard to get those same takedowns that he did on Krylov. Uh, it's going to be hard to get that type of takedown. Krylov is much more like stands strong, you know, big power punches. Israel's anything but that. He doesn't fight like that. If Izzy wins against Jan and Ngannou against Stipe, there will be 3 Africans who will be holding 4 UFC belts. Yes, there will be. He talked about Hamzat's retirement earlier. Hamzat retired. At Randy, Hassan Ahmed. At Randy, mate, I've been busy with college assignments. As soon as I've got them out of the way, I want to start sending some emails and stuff to get the ball rolling. Most importantly, Hassan, we're glad to have you here, mate. Love having you on there. Hassan is one of the originals, man. One of the originals with Grange TV. Massive supporter of the channel. And honestly, one of the reasons I restarted the channel, because I wasn't going to restart the channel at one stage. And Hassan is actually absolutely quintessential in the starting of this. Jack the Ripper. I think Peter Yan versus Sterling will be the closest fight. They're both extremely skilled. I'm not saying other fighters aren't, but I think Yan and Sterling are the closest to each other competitively. I am fully behind that. I think that fight to me is one of the sleeper fights. People have asked me what fights are you looking forward to. That's one of the fights I've been looking forward to. All-American wrestler versus a master of sport in striking, in boxing, in Peter Yan. Peter Yan has an uncanny ability to make you fight his fight, and then you fall off that cliff. So Peter Yan he takes up your space. He plays with your lead hand. He comes forward into your space, slips outside of your jab, slips outside of your right hand. He's a switch hitter. And when he switch hits, he goes left, right, and takes up your space. And so he's moved you up against the fence. He's a power puncher. He's very, very athletic. He's got great grappling himself. And then you have Aljamain Sterling, who's got brilliant kicks. He works those kicks to slow you down, to hurt you. He's an all-American wrestler. He can get that takedown. He gets a nice single leg on you. And then his ability to take the back and then work from the back. You saw him do the Sulioev submission. You see him when he gets it back and he goes for rear naked chokes, front chokes, and he also grapples in professionally still, you know. So it's almost a striker versus grappler, but they can both do the other respective arts as well. So I love those kind of matchups, and I'm a big super fan of both of them. So I'm all for it. Cricket just lost me job. You hiring, Fab? Not just now, Cricket. Not just now. But if you direct message me some of your qualifications, maybe there is. Guys, like and subscribe, and if you haven't already, hit the notification bell so you get all the notifications. I'm sorry to hear about your job loss, though, Cricket. I really am. Mason Platt, thanks for the response. Fab, love the channel. Thank you, man. Without you guys, there is no channel. Will rear kicks, leg kicks play a significant role in his fight against Santos? They can play a significant role, but Santos is a hard man. You know, he knows he's a good kickboxer. I think the problem with that fight against John was more like those kind of oblique kick stomps than the traditional kicks. I think Jan's strikes follow a really erratic timing, and he gets people in the half positions. I agree with you, Mo Barella, because that's exactly what I'm saying. Like I don't know how that's going to affect Israel, you know. And the problem and people don't understand this is like Jan being off that normal timing, off that rhythm a little bit, and being as strong as he is and as powerful he is, he might land a few shots like that, and then that might change the complexion of the game, you know. So we'll see what happens. John James, Izzy can't keep Jan on the outside. Jan is coming in, and the dude's a wrecking ball. Maybe, maybe. I don't think Jan's going to rush in like that either, though. I just don't think he is. He's not that kind of guy. He's more of like I said, like of a methodical, super strong guy. He's not a guy that's the staple of his fight game. Coach, can you explain how water loading for weight cut works? And follow-up question: does a fighter moving up in weight have an advantage in regard rather than a fighter who needs to cut weight? The water loading, let me water loading in itself, it's a whole that'd be a podcast in and of itself. But water loading, generally, the way I'm going to answer this real quickly, there's a few things that happen. One of the things is when you drink that excess water, there's a hormone that's released in your body that makes you secrete water, makes you lose your water in your urine, in your sweat, and whatnot. And you also stay hydrated for as long as possible. You don't want to be in a situation where you're dehydrated going into your weight cut. You want to have, from again anecdotal and sources that I've seen and stuff that we've followed, where you're hydrated and relatively comfortable going into it, and then the weight just comes off easily. You don't want to be losing, if you're dehydrated and you start your weight cut, you're not losing water, man. You're losing, you know, calories and shit that you don't have, like body tissue that you don't have to lose. So the water, we can do one. I think maybe we'll do something on water loading in and of itself. But it also keeps water in your brain, keeps water in your body as much as possible. So you want to be as lean as possible as well. So then the only thing that you lose is the water that's in your body and in your muscles. So when you see a guy that's not lean and they haven't been able to hold as much water, it makes it very, very hard to cut the weight. Really, really hard. The advantage on a fighter that has to cut weight and doesn't have to cut weight depends on the fighter. It depends what percentage of their body they're cutting weight. How lean is the fighter? I think a guy like Israel's a light heavyweight walking around. He's not like a middleweight or fucking welterweight, regardless of what anyone thinks. He's not a little guy, but he's super fucking lean. You know what I mean? Like the amount of he's just skin, muscle, bone. That's it. That's all he is. And so when he's fighting at light heavyweight, he's that weight, and that's all he is. Like it's not like he's a chubby guy or anything like that. So light heavyweights that come down might not even have his body composition. They don't necessarily have that body composition that Israel has. So it depends. I don't think that I haven't seen the fight yet. I don't think necessarily that the weight is going to be that much of an issue. I've seen Israel in real life, and he's not a little guy. I've seen, like, I haven't seen Jan that I can think of like right now, and I'm sure Jan's huge, but Jan has to cut down to 205, and Israel will be waiting for him at 205. Jan will rehydrate back, and he'll be a lot heavier. But like I said, I think Israel's a big, strong guy at 205 as well. Ali Hyder, Fab, how are you? I'm good, sir. How are you? Well, one of my best mates in high school's name was Hyder Ali. Michael Kavitia, do you think Adesanya will have more trouble dealing with Jan's 78-inch reach? That's one of the things that intrigues me, is how Israel will deal with, not how he will deal with it, because I'm not surprised with him being able to deal with it, but he'll definitely lose the advantage that he's always had over the other middleweights, which is that height and reach. So how he fixes it and how he deals with it, that's going to be really interesting. He's absolutely got all the tools in the world to be able to do it, though. John James seems probably gyno. It could be. I'm not saying it's not. That's just I don't understand, Anoiha Egby, what you said. Shazam, yeah, a bit sus, but at the same time, I've got gyno and I haven't touched any roids. Yeah, see, that's interesting. I know that people can get gyno without being on steroids as well. At Randy, I'm in my final year of college, laugh out loud. We'll be starting uni in September. I'm not a quitter. I'm going to see it through till it's done. Good on you, Hassan. I'm glad you're doing that. How was Gastelum able to present problems to Israel that other fighters couldn't? I think that Gastelum has Gastelum has got really, really good stand up. He does. He's got very fast hands. I think in boxing, in that small pocket, Gastelum has probably the fastest hands, I'd say. Up until that point, he dropped every single middleweight he'd fought. But I think since then, people have been watching more tape on Gastelum, and it's become harder for Gastelum to impose that game plan. But I think that up until that point, Gastelum's game was still able to catch a lot of people out in his ability to step outside of your lead foot and put that hand straight down the pipe. And the way that he works with his feet, he creeps in on you, and then he's able to cover that last bit of distance and throw that left hand down the pipe. He does that so well. Kind of even plays with your lead hand, and it's hard. You don't often associate that kind of style with a shorter guy. So I think he catches a lot of people out, and I think that's what happened with Gaston. Bo Himmler, the thing about Peds is a stab in the back to the guy who is clean. 1000% agree. It's not a fair fight. If two people are both juiced and know about it, it's a level playing field. Izzy had gyno. The cause is unknown. I don't know. Is that like a fact that he had gyno? I don't even know that he did. But I'm not saying he didn't. I don't know if he did or if he didn't. Is that what happened though? Did they say Israel has gyno? Yeah. No, it's not even in fighting, dude. Even if you think about it in a running race, if you're on gear and you beat me and I'm clean, you fucking took money from me. You took a scholarship from me. You took my kids' money from them. How about Dan Hardy trying to get knocked out by Brown? Why would he accept that fight? I think it was Dan Hardy that called him out. Barella says it was gyno. The YouTube doctor retracted his statement. The question whether it was caused by PEDs or not, it can absolutely be caused by marijuana. Yeah, I've heard all of that stuff, but did they say like it was gyno? Like, was that a statement that was released that it was undoubtedly gyno? Because I know it can be caused by other things. So I don't know. I don't know what caused it is what I'm saying to you. Okay, I'm just going to go skip a bit forward just to see if I make sure that I get everyone. Hamzan is wanting your attention. Simple as that. He'll be back in 2 weeks and you'll all be talking about him again. I hope so. I hope so. Koznoski says, thank you for the support, by the way. Will Rob get his title shot after Costa, do you think? I think that Rob beats Costa, and I think he beats him soundly, and I think that it makes sense for Rob to fight for a belt after that, for sure. I don't know who else he'd have to beat, but I think he beats Costa for sure. Kamen Ryder making fun of someone with health issues. Wow. Are you talking about me? Who did I make fun of? Izzy will make it look easy again. You got this. From Satya Mishra. I don't know if we'll make it look easy. I think it could look easy for either guy. Who has more chance of winning from Dorian Dark? Sterling or Jan? I think I'd have to favor Jan. Peter. Oh no. You're talking about Jan Blachowicz or Sterling. Sorry. I don't know. I think they both have good chances of winning. I do think, in my opinion, both of those guys are the underdog, but that doesn't mean that they can't win. So I don't know. I am from down under Tasmania. Thank you, my friend. Life is excellent. Tasmania is a wonderful place, isn't it? Koznoski, I think he will have earned it well and truly. I think we'll be ready to see that rematch then. Yeah, I don't even know if there will be a rematch necessarily. Cooper Marion says workout one extra time or get 1 extra hour of sleep. So you're asking, are you better off working one more workout than sleep? Kind of a loaded question, but I'll tell you this now. Like, if I had to pick, I'd say sleep, because the recovery is one of the most important things that you can possibly do. And sleep is the best kind of recovery that you can get. Having said that, like, if you get the extra sleep, you should do the extra workout. Ali Hyder, Fab, did you hear Costa saying he was hungover fighting Izzy? What are your thoughts? Why would you do that? Why would you drink the night before you're going to fight Israel Adesanya? That's on you, man. That's like any of those things is on you. Once you take the fight, it's on you. And you shouldn't really be talking about why, how, this and that. You lost, man. Then get him next time. Evening from Toronto, Fab, bring shorts because it's -10. As an athlete trying to get in shape and not overtrain, this is one of the things I don't think you overtrain. I think people under recover. So if you're just starting to get into it and blah 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 and trying to get your rhythm, the recovery, the sleep is the most important thing. Get your sleep right first. That honestly is the biggest one. I think Izzy chose to stay the same size so he could drop down and be the first male to defend belts in both divisions. Maybe, but like I said, I don't think he's that small of a guy. Anyways, Luke Delamere, I feel like people are treating Izzy and Jan like a kid versus a man. I get the weight difference, but Izzy's taller and longer, and Izzy's KO is actually the most likely thing to happen in terms of odds. I agree with you. I don't think that, like, yeah, I don't, yeah. Sosa Young, and do you think Jan will need to rely on durability to get close enough on Izzy to land shots? If not, how can he close distance with his speed disadvantage? I think he's, like I've said it already. I think his timing is a big thing to get in on Israel. And does he need to rush in and get in? You know what I mean? Let's see how the fight pans out. I'm not sure. I think this fight's really interesting because, like I said, I think Jan has a bit of an X factor, a bit of a unpredictability in his awkwardness and his timing and his punching power and his just overall awkwardness that he has, So I don't know how it's going to play out. I don't know. I whilst I didn't write him off, I didn't think he was going to beat Reyes. I didn't think he was going to beat him. So, and not beat him the way he beat him. So I don't know. That's what it kind of throws it off for me. You know what I mean? It kind of throws that off. I can't make an accurate prediction because he's really impressed me in these last couple of fights with his ability to do what he does. I don't know about that. How heavy will a light heavyweight walk around at? They were walking around at north of 100 kilos, most of them, 98. It's not just the weight. This is where people get that wrong. It's not the weight that makes those people like necessarily big people, because you could be a lean guy and you stay lean and you don't walk around that heavy, but you're a big guy. You got long arms, got a big frame, thick wrists. You're lean, so you're not walking around heavyweight like a heavy guy, but north of 100 kilos for sure. And Israel doesn't, man, I'm sick of saying the same shit. But anyways, yeah, he's not little. Jack the Ripper, off topic, how's the surfing going? Got any better? I'm out there all the time trying, and no, I'm not any better. I've stood up a couple of times, so I'm happy with that. Hanoi Tripper, do you think Jan is going to be too slow and get picked off from the outside all night and doesn't have a great entry for takedowns, so we'll get pieced up? Again, like I said, not necessarily, man, because I don't think that Jan, whilst he's not a bona fide wrestler in his own right, he does have a few good takedowns, and I think the fact that he's not makes him unpredictable. If he was a really good wrestler, then you know that at some point he's going to be shooting that double. you don't know what he's going to do. I don't know. I can't really say to you this is what he's going to do because I think that he is going to try to test Israel's chin. I think Israel is going to be very hard to hit, but I don't know that Jan's going to be coming in, going takedowns or bust. And I know for sure that's not the way to beat Israel because he's very, very elusive, very long. He frames, and it's hard for you to get inside that space. You know, it's very, very hard. You've seen him go up against good wrestlers, guys that can wrestle, and they haven't had a lot of success. You know, so the guys that have had the most success, for example, with Gastelum, he was with the striking. Hassan Ahmed said, Izzy said to Ariel that he got gyno from smoking too much weed. Okay, so he said that he had gyno because like I said to you, I didn't know why he had gyno, but it's a kind of strange thing because up until recently, if you smoked, you would test positive for that as well. So that's kind of strange. Like, I don't know. I find that although I don't agree with marijuana being on the banned substance, was it throughout Israel's career, marijuana was on a banned list, wasn't it? I don't know. I could be wrong about that. I'm not sure about what the timeline is. So that would have popped. So that's strange as well. Hamzat is retired. Did you see his post on Instagram, Fab? I did not. I did not. And like I said, like hopefully he's a young guy and he's able to bounce back. Israel blaming that gyno on cannabis was just disgraceful. Gyno Sanya's from Super Skunk. Yeah, I don't know, Super Skunk. I don't know. All I'm saying is that if it was from weed on that timeline, was he in the testing pool, like as far as like was marijuana a banned substance at the time? Luke Delamore, man, he's a muscular, strong dude. I'm telling you now. He's no joke. Cedric Justin Alcosiba. In case you forgot to look at my question, have you seen some epic knockouts from one championship? I have, sir. I have, and I will do a podcast about one championship at one time, but I want to keep it on UFC 259 today. Otherwise, we're going to go down a rabbit hole. But I appreciate you, man, and I appreciate you watching and posting, man. And we will do some one championship stuff moving forward. After going the distance in her last few, do you think Amanda will go for the KO in this one? I don't think she's going to go for the KO, and Megan Anderson's not the person to do it with. But I think she could get a KO for sure. But Megan's good, you know. And the thing is, the higher up the chain you go and you start to fight better and better people, it's harder to just impose your physical will on them like that. How do you think Cruz will fare against Kenny? I hope Cruz wins. I'm always been a fan of Cruz. Coach, just throwing it out there for your future patron content. The intricacies of a fighter heading into a fight, i.e., from setting up fight camp, diet, workouts, recovery, weight cut. Thank you, sir. I will keep all of that in mind for sure. Would Cejudo beat Figueiredo? I tend to think so. After seeing that fight, I think so because I think that Cejudo is a guy that can take you down almost at will if he wanted to. His wrestling is absolutely phenomenal, and just that making Figueiredo work into the later rounds will be difficult. Will make it very difficult for him. And Cejudo has some good power himself, you know, and some good boxing. People are misrepresenting what Costa actually said in the interview. It's more casual than people are making out. He doesn't insist he was drunk. We are relying on Portuguese to English translations. Yeah, see, I don't know about any of that. If he was actually said that, then fuck, I don't know. What do you want me to do? Hassan Ahmed, Fab, this is a hot take, but I believe Cyril Gane will be champ within 2 years. Cyril Gane has definitely got the abilities to be champ. I don't know that he will definitely be champ. He's got the goods, you know, to do it. But there's some good guys in that heavyweight division too. Jan is a very good counterpuncher. If he mixes his striking with takedowns, he had good chances to win against Izzy, Dorian Dark. I think so. I think, like I said, it's hard against Israel to do that because you're at a different range with Israel. He's very, very long. Have you seen fights from one championship? Yes, yes, I have. I've had guys on here from one championship. I had Aung La, I had Martin Nguyen, I had Christian Lee. They're all here on. They've all been on the podcast. All right, dude, I'm gonna block you, man. You just keep posting the same thing, and it's just affecting us here. Are people sleeping on Jan grappling? Here's some nasty subs in previous fights. I don't know that people are necessarily sleeping on Jan's grappling because I think a lot of people are saying that Jan can just take Israel down and submit him, and I think if any people are probably sleeping on Israel's grappling. I think Jan's got very, very good grappling, but I think Israel does too. Um, do you think Izzy has power as Thiago Santos to recover if Jan has initial success? Do I think that Israel can recover like Israel is very, very like he's very weathered and experienced. He's had 100 fights. He's done his due diligence, He he didn't just go in and start fighting willy-nilly. Like he he did his due diligence before he fought in the UFC. Not a lot of people will go and actually build their resume properly before stepping into the octagon. So he's been in those positions with every kind of fighter imaginable over a period of 100 fights. That's what makes him super dangerous. The other thing that makes him dangerous is when he started fighting in the UFC and he was like close to 30 or around 30, give or take. He'd already been through all the bullshit. He'd lost title fights. He'd had people around him. He's had people leave him. He's had, the people fucking try and get in and, made bad decisions, made good ones. And now as a man, he's got himself where he needs to be and he's got his situation right. It might not be perfect, but it works for him. And that's what makes him very, very dangerous. He's not like a young guy. How do you think Rob would fare in light heavyweight? I think he'd do fine at light heavyweight. He's a big guy himself, and he's very fast, and that's one of the things that he would take as an advantage into light heavyweight. How he will do with each person specifically, I don't know. How do you think Anderson will do against Nunes? We might be seeing another Joanna versus Zane. I don't know. I think Anderson on the feet is a legitimate threat to Nunes. Bo Himmler, I wish I can explain this damn gyno thing. You need a bro scientist who is a gym rat and has been doing steroids, not a doctor. I'm not that guy, but been around them. Ask any bodybuilder. Hassan Ahmed, yeah, weed was a banned substance then. Only within the last 2 months they've taken it off the list. He was tested, I think, 11 times, if I remember correctly. So then, like, I don't know. Then there's something wrong with the testing. You should have popped for weed. You know what I mean? Because it stays in your system for like 6 to 8 weeks. So, good for him. I don't think he should test positive. I don't think he should be banned for weed. I'm just saying, but like, it's kind of strange that didn't pop up. Let me see. Coach, could Khabib beat Usman? I think he could. I think it'd be harder for him because Khabib, again, that natural thing that he has is like he's bigger as well. Not only is he a fantastic athlete, a fantastic fighter, but he's also bigger than a lot of the guys that he's fighting, and he's able to use a mechanical advantage. He would lose that somewhat against Usman. The only reason people think Izzy's skinny is because of his small delts and narrow shoulders. His midsection's built as fuck, says Chili Miners. Yeah, he's not a fucking small guy, dude. He's not a small guy. Like, I've met that dude, I shook hands with him a couple of times. He's a fucking big dude. There's just, like you said, like, he's got long arms. His arms aren't particularly massive, like thick arms, and he hasn't got big, massive delts. But he's a big dude. Like, I'm fucking looking up at him. He's got big, massive hands. Like, his bones are thick. His legs are big and muscular. Like, he's just the fact that he's long. Same as John Jones. When you see fucking John Jones in real life, he's fucking huge, man. He's terrifying. Any thoughts on Carlos Ulberg from City Kickboxing? He's on the prelims this weekend. Yeah, he's good, man. He's very good. Very, very, very good. Should Nunes give Cyborg a rematch? And can Cyborg win? Yes to both. Hey, Fab, do you know any Izzy's trainers at all? They seem really sharp and onto it. Ha ha. I don't know what that means. No, I don't know him, but Cedric Justin Alcasiba. Okay, sorry, so I thought you couldn't see my messages. Just don't mind the others since you already answered me. Thanks. I did answer you. I know for the World Rugby PD course, marijuana was banned during competition, but not out of competition. So theoretically, you could smoke out of comp. Might be different for UFC, USADA, etc. Yeah, I don't know. The only reason I say that is because dudes have been banned, have had marijuana bans put on them from testing positive for weed in the UFC. So I don't know how that one would have worked. For the record, I don't think they should be banned for marijuana. That's me. I don't think that. But I just found it strange. Izzy and Hooker have a lot of style similarities. Dan has been outdone by coming out strong and using movement until he gets tired in the later rounds. How do you feel about Jan keeping Izzy moving? Man, I don't know. This fight, I don't know. I think anyone that tells you they know is going to be lying to you, because Jan is really unpredictable, man. He's got, like I said, he's got like a real weird and awkward timing. And it just seems like he's able to take some of those shots that the guys are giving him, and they don't seem to have slowed him down as much as you'd think they would. The Reyes fight, completely impressed me with him. He just fought so well, fought out of his skin in that fight. And that kind of, and the Rockhold fight as well. See, but the Rockhold fight, again, it was like, there were moments where you're like, is he starting to lose? Is he starting to wither? But he didn't. And that game, saying he's methodical, it just doesn't do him enough justice, because you got to have a certain level of toughness and gameness, and your body has to be able to be made of some pretty fucking hard stuff, because he just kept coming. He just kept coming. And he kept coming in a really smart way, finding those angles and getting closer and closer and closer to landing that shot until he did in both fights. Will he be able to do it to Israel? I don't know. I don't think so. It's going to be very interesting. In fairness, I'm a huge fan of Dan Hooker, but Dan Hooker doesn't have Israel's striking pedigree. He just doesn't have it. There might be similarities in their styles, but they're not the same. Like, he doesn't have the striking pedigree. And that also, one of the things that people don't understand, and when we had Volkanovski on here before, he actually mentioned this as well. Like, it's not just you being able to do a punch or a kick. It's relatively easy for anyone to learn how to throw a jab, a 1-2, 3-punch combo, 4-punch combo, whatever. But it's knowing when to do those things and knowing when and how fast to do it. Because you can throw a jab, and you can throw a jab to a right hand, and then you can throw the jab and then throw the right hand. Or throw the jab, right hand, and then kick, and then a right hand after that. But you can change the tempo, which you do all of those things. They're the things that a guy like Israel has down fucking pat. Like, he doesn't just, he doesn't have to throw a 1-2 right after the other and then just rinse, repeat that. He can make that 1-2 into 20 different combos. He can loop the first punch around a little bit more. He can come under you just a little bit and throw like the jab a little bit different. Throw the 1-2 faster, throw the 1-2 slow, throw the 1, let you walk into the 2. they're the nuances that change it. That's why I say to you, it's a very big difference in their stand-up. Very, very big difference. Hooker doesn't have, and Hooker, I love Hooker, but he doesn't have Israel's pedigree. I don't mind it, Cedric. I don't mind it. Let me see. Just we're good. I just hope we get to see Jan do some work in the fight. Would suck if it's a Costa repeat. Oh, GG. If it is, man. Good for Israel if it is. Tobias Coleman, in your opinion, what would be the determining factor in the Jan and Israel fight? Strength or maybe the ground? Like I said, I think the determining factor is going to be who can work out the other one's timing first. Because I think the timing will be the most important thing in this fight. It's going to be, will Jan be able to impose the timing and his ability to grind and be methodical and start to work Israel out? Or is Israel's technical abilities and 100 plus fights be a determining factor and be able to start him being able to time Jan and be able to start chopping away and picking Jan apart? I think that's going to be the determining factor in this fight. Going to the ground will also be a part of it. If you haven't got the timing to be able to come in, you're not going to be able to get that to the ground, and you're not going to be able to impose your strength. So in this particular fight, it's definitely going to be timing. Here's what I think. Adesanya's kickboxing is amazing, but I think to beat Adesanya, you'll need to grapple. That's just my opinion, by the way. Yes, I think Adesanya can grapple too. Like, he's been in there with some of the fucking best grapplers around. Peter Yan is Peter Yan, and Jan Blachowicz is Jan Blachowicz. I was rewatching the Chandler Hooker fight, and to me, it looked like Chandler executed the same game plan Rob was trying to implement on Izzy. Only difference was Izzy had better ring generalship. Different because Hooker's different to Israel. You know, like I wouldn't talk about. I can't. I'm not going to talk about Rob's fighting or whatever. If I work with someone, I can't talk about. He can talk about himself, but I can't talk about anything that I did with him. Or anything. I wouldn't. You know what I mean? Even if he was sitting right there, he can talk for himself. Like I wouldn't do it. Any guy that I've worked with, it's not my place to say that. But having said that, the difference was that the way they fought, the way all four guys fought was different, but man, because Hooker got a bad rap, like he did something horribly wrong. If you watch that fight without knowing the result and you start seeing the calf kicks, there was one of the calf kicks that landed, and you can see it landed flush. And even when you watch it in real time, you hear the commentator say, that one landed, that one hurt. Because no one knew, right, that Hooker, that in the next sequence, Chandler was going to knock him out. That's a problem when you listen to analysts and everything after the fight. Everyone acts like this is what he did wrong. But you only think he did that wrong because he lost the fight, because you already knew he lost the fight. Prior to that, Hooker was doing a good job of making Chandler walk in and landing the calf kick. And he did that. He did a good job. Did he do everything perfect? No, he didn't. Chandler's a very good fighter, blah, 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 blah. But I don't think Hooker did that much wrong in that fight either. Thank you, Luke Delamere. They are just my thoughts, man. They are just my thoughts. They're based on stuff that I know and stuff that I don't know. And we're having a good discussion here, and I enjoy it, man. I love talking about the fights. And that's what I hope that this channel brings that other channels maybe don't, you know? Just like, I want to create that atmosphere where you're sitting around with your mates talking about who's going to win a fight and why. And that's what I kind of want to do, as opposed to it being just me here with my whiteboards and whatnot and telling you all what I think. You know, I want to know what you guys think as well. Nothing against those channels, because I think those channels are fucking fantastic, and they're not, you know, there's enough of those people out there that I'm kind of wanting to create a different thing. I think Jan prepares stamina of his life, and the solution is to push Izzy constantly and take him to the ground. Yeah, but a lot of things have to happen, man, for that to happen. Like a lot of things. Like you have to trust me when I tell you this. A lot of that is the timing that has to work. Otherwise, you're not getting it to the ground. to even begin with. And the hardest thing to do is once you get things to the ground, he has to hold Izzy down. Because once the thing that takes the most energy out of you is the takedown, is you getting a big takedown, getting it to the ground, and then the guy stepping back up and getting up. That's going to gas you out. You, the person that's trying to get the takedown. Thank you, Luke Delamy. I'm very, very flattered by what you said, and I really appreciate the support. Khabib will crush. More plates, more dates is the bro science gyno gym rat guy you're looking for, dude. Not to be rude, but what would you say about the people saying Rob's chin is depleted after his Romero wars? Do they not watch MMA? Like, what the fuck are they talking about? I don't even know. There's things I think about that, not about his chin being depleted, but have you not seen his last fights? He actually took some fucking big shots. You know, if anything, he probably takes too many on the chin. But no, his chin's fucking good, dude. Like, how the fuck would you survive Romero's shots? Israel got him on the chin. Watch that fight. Watch that last hook. They both throw a left hook within a split fucking second of each other, and Israel landed it on Rob and won, and it was a good night for Israel, and congratulations. There was a fucking split second in that, and he got Rob right on the chin. That's like saying, like, people here fucking saying Israel got knocked out a bunch of times. He got knocked out of Alex Pereira when Alex Pereira landed it flush on Israel's chin. When you get hit like that, it's not about how good your chin is. Like, you get hit that flush, you're out of there. Now, Rob's got a very good chin. Do you think Thiago Santos is making a mistake, making a quick turnaround against Rakic? I don't know. I can't say that. You know, I don't know. Can you give us your picks for the whole main card? I don't like to do it, but let's go. Jan, Peter, Amanda, Thiago, and I think I'm missing someone. When do you see an Anzac card taking place in the future, given the amount of fighters from the region and UFC 259 until UFC 260? When do I see an Anzac card taking place? I don't know. But we got heaps of fighters, man, around here. I just got to thinking, what if, okay, I don't know. The skinny joke Paula started is funny, but should end at that. Look at Djokovic and Federer. Don't tell me those guys aren't strong or durable. This is from Bo Himmler. Romero, Francis Paulo proved muscles can work against you. In fairness, only Paulo proved that, because I don't think that's been the reason for any of Romero's or Francis' loss. Izzy is very elusive. What's so special about his head movement and footwork? I think the most special thing about Israel's head movement and footwork is the amount of experience he has. That you cannot fabricate 100 fights. You just can't. You can't. You know what I mean? You can't fabricate the experience that you get and the timing and your ability to know what works for you, what you don't like, and then not allowing people to take you there even before the fight started, you know? So that is one of the big things. Julian Obiaha. Yes, people act like experts after the fight. After the fight, everyone fucking tells you. And honestly, I do think, I'm not talking about the analysts because they got to make a living, but I do think it's like the biggest form of weakness. Like when people are like, you know what you should have done, you know what fucking thing. Shut the fuck up. You don't even know what you're talking about. So yeah, after that, it's after the fight, you're a fucking expert. A lot of people say Izzy looks much bigger in person than they expected. He won't be outmatched physically at 205. I didn't think he was small, but he's big, dude. Like, I was looking up at him, you know? I was looking up at him. He's got big, thick wrists, big fucking thick hands. You know, he's just not like, he's not like hugely broad. He's still broad. He's very broad, but he's not really broad across his shoulders like some dudes are. And that kind of gives him a slimmer kind of look. But he's not thing, and he's not small. Is Khabib the GOAT in a Pride style ring rather than the octagon? He's pretty much a fucking goat in an octagon as well. Izzy and Jan will be decided by who controls the distance and the timing. I agree with you, Ren. I really do. Romero loses due to a lack of activity. If Izzy catches one of Jan's heavy punches, he'll be in trouble. I think so, for sure. But can he land it? That's the difference. How much easier do you think it's training for 3 rounds compared to 5? Dominic Cruz said they are worlds apart. I think they're very different. They're very different because there are some guys that are better 5-rounders than 3-rounders. So it is very different. Dominic Cruz is right. I don't think it's easier because in 3 rounds depends on how you are. There's guys that like to fight 5 rounds in that this style is really good for 5 rounds. I think Peter Yan is really good for 5 rounds because he'll put a boxing pace on you. He'll come forward with your boxing. He'll take the foot with your front hand. He's a switch hitter. He takes up your distance. He keeps coming forward. He keeps going, keeps wearing you out. And you stay with him. And people watching it and they're going, man, the guys are staying with him. Jose Aldo, perfect example. It looks like that. It looks like that. It looks like that. And then it just goes around that 3rd round, So for him, fighting into the 4th and 5th is better because not a lot of people can keep up with his boxing style. So it is different. 3 rounds though is more of a sprint. Like it's not necessarily easier. It's kind of different. It's you got to be you can win 2 rounds and lose one, and you're going to win. So you can win. You can come out and really fight hard for 10 minutes, and you're more or less going to win that fight as long as you don't get stopped. Whereas a 5-round fight, dude, like you have to win 3 rounds, right? And then hope you don't get stopped and you still got 10 minutes to go, which is fucking hard, man. So it's a different sort of training for it. What do you think about the new calf kick meta? It seems like the wider stance that favors mobility MMA makes it hard for people to retract the lead leg like they would in a Muay Thai stance. You're 100% right. But I think things go backwards and forwards. Like the bladed stance allows you to go in and out and move in quickly too. And so the calf kick, it's always been around, the calf kick, by the way. But I think the calf kick has risen to prominence because the bladed stance had rose to prominence. So now I think the calf kick is being used against people with the bladed stance. But, people are going to learn to check that. People are going to learn to get out of the way. The calf kick is also it's not impervious because you can get damaged. If you kick that wrong, you're kicking with your foot, a lot of the time. So, and if you're not kicking with your foot and you hit him with a shin, you're so close to getting hit as well. So they're going to work it out. People are going to work it out. It's not like it's never been done before. So if Adesanya wins, he'll be the middleweight and the light heavyweight champ. Wow. Yeah, he will be if he wins this fight. I only ask that because the cage is a massive part of Khabib's game. Just wonder how he'd fight without it. Oh, okay. Sorry, Gigi. I misunderstood what you said. So yeah, sometimes I misunderstand what people write when they write it. I only think that the cage is just wonder how he'd fight without it. Well, he fought in a ring a lot before that too. You know what I mean? And M1 and that, and he still did well. The ring is funny though because when you shoot on someone, right, and they go up against the ropes, they can bounce off it easier than they bounce on off the cage a lot of the times. So yeah, I don't know. Is he always acting sus? Thoughts? I don't know. You'd have to elaborate on that. I don't watch like the other stuff. I only watch the fights. So I don't know about that. Can you consider Khabib the GOAT even though he was never champ or fought out of his weight class in general? I just think Khabib is so dominant in his weight class. Do you think Jan will teep to counter Izzy's calf kicks? Yes, I do think he'll teep. I think he'll use front kicks. I think he'll use stomps. I think he'll use all those kicks that disrupt Israel's timing, I think is what, and makes it uncomfortable. I think Jan's going to throw front kicks, like short front snap kicks. I think he's going to throw teep kicks. I think he's going to throw oblique kicks. I think he's going to stomp the knee. I think he's going to do kick the hip. I think he's going to kick the hip as much as he can as well to try and upset Israel's timing. Yes, I do think he's going to do all of those things. I do think that we are going to see quite a few leg kicks from Jan himself. That's what I think he'll do. I don't think, Steve, I don't think that Costa will be able to cut the cage off on Rob. Rob is so much fucking quicker. Michael Bisping and Paul Felder said you can't check leg kicks, but I've seen world champion kickboxers say you can, and a lot of it comes down to conditioning. Any thoughts? You can absolutely check leg kicks, but it's how you check them. One of the guys that I've worked with in the past, Steve McKinnon, fucking one of the better kickboxers around, that's for sure. In Sydney as well, very lucky to have him. It's also, again, placement and timing. Are you going to, if this guy throws a leg kick at full pelt at you, am I going to stick my shin out so that we go shin to shin? That's going to fucking hurt. But what you're trying to do is also check the kick. So you're sticking your leg out a bit more to the side. So you're checking shin or knee on foot. Then that becomes different. That then hurts, that hurts the guy that's kicking. If I go check shin to shin, fuck, that's going to hurt. How do I see John Jones faring at heavyweight? I think really well, really well. Hey Fab, just tuning in. Who do you see winning with Rakic versus Santos? I think Santos. I do think Santos. I don't think that Rakic offers the same necessarily offense that Teixeira did, and even then, Santos is a fucking wrecking ball as well. Do you think Izzy would still have moved up if Reyes or Jones were the 205 champion as of 2021? I think so, because I think it was a smart thing for him to do. Like, he'd done a good job at middleweight, and the smart thing for Israel to do was to go up and challenge at 205, where he can, possibly win a second belt. That's so. Yeah, I think he would have. I'll be back in 1 second. I am back, people. Yeah, so I think he would have still gone up. What's it says here? Let me see. What are your thoughts? Sorry, I just got to find where we're at. Okay. Who do I see? Who do I see winning with Rakic and Santos? Probably Santos. Yep. Not sure. Not sure if you aren't answering questions about Rob on purpose. If you aren't, that's cool. I think I fucking spoke about Rob quite a fair bit, especially when this is about UFC 259. That's why I'm trying to keep it about UFC 259. RLA, what are you talking about? He's answered a bunch. A lot of the questions are super repetitive. Thank you, Gigi. Like, we've been on here for an hour and a half, and sometimes people ask the same thing, over and over, and not just on this podcast. They ask the same thing, podcast after podcast after podcast after podcast. So I don't always return it, and I'm trying to keep it about the main card of UFC 259. Should Jan go for the clinch, or is Izzy too fast? I think that Jan's going to try and get Israel in the clinch as much as possible and try and wear on him and everything, wear on him against the fence as much as possible. But you're not going to see Jan. Jan's not stupid, dude. That's one of the things. He's also got a lot of experience. He's not a boy. He's like a older guy as well that's had a lot of experience. He's fought in different weight divisions. He's fucking very experienced as well. He's not stupid, man. And his game is not that. If his game was to blitz and come in, bang, 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 grab double legs and the rest of it, yeah, all right. But that's not his game. His game's slow and methodical, and the timing that's created with that. And so he's not going to just run in and clinch, man. Yeah. But if he can clinch, he will. 100%. He's going to try and put Israel up against the cage. Fighting is a thinking man's game, not a tough man's game. Thoughts, Fab? I agree, but you got to be a thinking man that's very, very tough. Jan or Sterling? I'm going to go with Jan. Like I said, I think Jan's got a little bit. He's able to make you fight his fight. He's able to make you almost comfortable, kind of standing with him and feeling that, yeah, you know what, I'm kind of doing this, but he turns it on you at all times. He turns it on you at all times, starts to pressure you. He fights from different stances, and he's so good at doing it. So the punches come from different angles, and he really hits hard at bantamweight. Say your prediction on Jan versus Izzy. I already said it. I said I think Izzy will probably do it. We all know that Jan will win, says Ali Shia. JSJ23. Sorry, Fab. I meant Bisping and Felder said it specifically about calf kicks. Any experience with them? Yeah, I have. I'm not with Bisping and Felder, none. With calf kicks, yes. But calf kicks are hard. The thing that makes it hard is if you check it and the guy hits it, even if it hits it tibialis anterior and you don't get foot, if you don't get foot on shin and his shin hits your tibialis anterior, which is that muscle on the front of your shin, it'll fuck you anyways. It'll still fuck you, and then your muscle swells and then you can't dorsiflex, which is lift the back of your foot like that. So this is my shin, this is my foot. I can't do that properly because the tibialis anterior is compromised. So that makes it very hard to check them. But if someone throws a calf kick and you check it with your shin on their foot, it will break it. The problem is, and this is where Felder and Bisping are right in this context, is because if a lot of times when you're throwing that calf kick, you're throwing it at the guys that have turned their feet are already bladed, whether it's a boxing stance or a karate stance. You're not throwing it at guys that are standing like in front of you in a Muay Thai stance and they can just check your foot on their shin. That's the difference. So yeah, in that context, they're right. I don't see Jones doing much at heavyweight because he's never had huge punch power at light heavyweight. I don't think the heavyweights will respect John's power. Jake Howarth. That is true. That is true. And I also, not doing much is a very relative term, though. If you ask me, will he beat Miocic or Francis? I don't think that he will. That's the truth. I don't think that he necessarily will. But I do think he can still do quite well. You are right, though, that I do see that. And I also see that he takes a few too many shots at light heavyweight, which he can't afford to do that at heavyweight. What are your thoughts on Ortega versus Volcker? Will the majority of this fight play out on the feet? I don't want to go into it too much, man, because we're talking about UFC 259. I think Volkanovski will win, and I think Volkanovski's a little bit better on the feet. I don't even... okay. Rick James. Fucking hell. We're talking about UFC 259. I don't think people understand how good a striker Darren Till is. He commands range beautifully with feints. I didn't truly realize how talented Rob is until he beat him. Incredible fight IQ from Rob. Yes, that was a very, very good showing by Rob in that fight. Daniel Cormier also had no heavyweight punch knockout in light heavyweight division, but he showed great against Miocic and knocked him out. Yeah, but Daniel Cormier has got punching power, dude. Like he's knocked out at heavyweight, especially. He's knocked out some fucking bad people, man, in Strikeforce and that. So no, he does. He hits well, hard, fast. But at light heavyweight, he was able to do a lot of his wrestling stuff. Like he was able to manhandle dudes a little bit more. Do you think Megan Anderson will present Nunes anything she hasn't seen before? The weight difference could be big. Again, I don't know the weight difference, but I know that Megan has legit stand up, and so then she definitely will present some problems there. Man, JS23, it's hard for me with the guests at the moment, man. I'm so busy at the moment, like really busy. I think Jan Sterling and Valentina Andrade will be the most competitive fight of the night, worthy title fights within the next 2 months. I'm really pumped to see Jan and Sterling. Okay. Sterling has a really good chance against Jan. This is from John Danon. Sterling has a really good chance against Jan. Jan hasn't faced a high-level grappler since Magomed Magomedov. Sterling will also have the height and reach advantage. However, I think Jan wins. When he fought Uriah Faber and the way he handled that showed me the level of grappling also that he has. And he came back well against Magomedov. Magomedov can wrestle his ass off. So I don't know that Jan will have those problems necessarily. And I think that his uncanny athletic ability, and then coupled with his like classical boxing, striking training and pedigree, I think will be a little bit much. Guys, having said all of that, please like and subscribe. Thank you so much for sharing this time with me. Please like and subscribe, hit the notification bell, tell your friends and family, and thank you so much for sharing this, guys. Thank you very much for your time.